Hello, everybody, and welcome to Series 2. I'm Ananya, and the theme is How are NGOs growing online? So, as a guest today, we have Richard Swisher. And would you like to give a brief introduction of yours?
Yeah, my name is Rich Swisher, and I am lucky enough to be a part of an NGO called Motive, and I'm very happy to be on this podcast or interview.
It's an honor to have you on today. So, welcome. And I had a couple of questions for you. And could we begin then?
Yes, I'm ready.
So, the first one I had was what made you work in an NGO, in a non-profit organization, to set up one, and what is your aim behind it?
Well, that's an interesting story. I I think that as you go through you kind of prepare for your career through education, you follow interests, and then your early career is based on what opportunities are open to you. When I was growing up, my interest was in a career life as a soldier. My education was a very standard education, not non-specialized. I didn't go to university. I had plans to, but I changed my plans based on what I wanted to do in the military. And when I was younger, I wanted to be a pilot. When I was older, I was more interested in special operations type of military service. When then I went in, I got exposed to a lot of different things. I was in several armed conflicts around the world. I'm a veteran of the first Gulf War, and my time in the military really was about 6.5, 7 years. And what I found out of it, it's not a simple straight path. Even if you win every tryout and you succeed in everything, you end up with, like in many careers, you end up with manpower shortages. Well, they had more than enough special operators, but they needed more standardized types troops. That's not why I wanted to go in the military. I didn't want to do that. So I left, and I took what I knew how to do, which was I knew more of a tactical approach to things. But then I had also been around the world, and I'd really started as a young man. I started paying attention to more cultures, more the differences in society that shape things, where tactics is just a right now level of dealing with things. I started looking more at, okay, well, what created this situation? What's behind these dynamics in the individuals? I went into a career in law enforcement in Los Angeles with the LAPD, and I learned even more. That's a massive cultural mixing pot. And it was very interesting. And what I learned there, that was really my crucible, where I learned that really what fulfills me, it's not the tactics, it's not the excitement, although I have a tactical mind, and I definitely am drawn in all my hobbies and everything I do. I like high risk, and I like things to be exciting. But what really drives me, what fulfills me, is serving other people. I'm very justice minded. I'm not take one side or take the other side. I'm somebody who, from a very young age, and when you're old, especially super old like me, you can look back and see through your life that what kind of things really moved you. And that was it for me. Nobody likes a bully. I hated a bully. And I was the one I had the mindset that not only did I not like a bully and did I hate the bully, but I couldn't stop myself from dealing with the bully. I had to be the one to go and poke and push and stop. And so I've always been driven to be the one, like, okay, if there's 20 of us here, nobody's going to do something about this bully. Even if I get beat up, I'm going to be the one to go, I just can't stand by. So through my career, I was in fulfilling roles and in non-fulfilling roles. You get into jobs where, okay, the money's good. This is good for my family and all, but wow, am I bored? I feel like I'm being useless in my life. And as a super old person to young people, understand that those are just some of the peaks and valleys you go through. So always be looking for ways that you can be more fulfilled, but you can't always. So I, right around in 2000, I had started a sports agency from 1998 to 2008 in the economic downturn. I had an action sports agency where I did athlete and sports management in action sports like X Games type stuff, skateboarding, freestyle motocross, motorcycle racing, non-traditional sports, and very fun. Those are my hobbies. And that was all gone in 2008. And it came back to the unfulfilling things of, okay, I need to just put money, food on the table and a roof over my family's head. So I found a group that I could just leave Saturday morning. I could travel outside of the US, not far from where I live in Southern California, into Baja, Mexico, go and actually do work and help people, not go and play or go and pretend to give, but literally from somebody who's, an executive or anyone else, I'll go and dig ditches and build things and lay brick and mix concrete and sweat. I leave very early Saturday morning. I'm back Sunday night. I can go do that once a month and interact with the people down there that we're helping and really see a difference. So it was really just 1 week in a month where I was getting that kind of give back fulfillment for quite a while. And I really like that. And so I stayed connected to that ministry. It's called Strong Tower Ministries. It's connected to my Christian faith. And I love the model that they have. It's low overhead. They don't waste money and time. And what it is really about is about showing people that the real value is not what you give. The real value you receive by giving. The real value is you being generous and understanding that you are not as important as others. And so an opportunity came up. I'm doing fine financially, and my wife is a professional that earns a good amount of money. And that group that I worked with, Strong Tower, said, hey, we know this ministry is looking for somebody full time for a very low position. And I don't care if I'm at the very top position or the very bottom position. What I look for is fulfillment. I want to be useful. I want to help. So I went to work with them. And through my work with them, I ended up in Peru building a playground with a missionary pastor from Romania.
Yeah.
Okay, so through that, I went to work with that organization, and at the very bottom level, and I ended up in the remote Andes in Peru, the Andes mountain ranges in Peru, building a small playground in a village with a Romanian missionary pastor who's lived in Peru for like 15 years. It's his home. It's where his family is now. He was very sick from the high altitude, and I was struggling to dig holes in a boulder with these locals. But he noticed there was a problem with a child who the entire village, a village of maybe 120, 130, 150 people. It has 100 children. And there's a child, the kids are playing on the pieces of the playground that we've not erected yet. And he sees a child who all of the other kids, it's not like they're being mean to him. They're not necessarily ignoring. It's like he's a ghost. He does not exist there. They don't see him. They don't hear him. And he knows that he is not to be seen. He's not to be heard. He's just walking among them almost like a ghost. And it struck this pastor who's got just the biggest heart in the world. And he said, I need to go look at this. And he was very sick. He couldn't help us dig anyway. So he goes for a while and he comes back and he said, okay, if he describes the problem to me. And then he says, the reason is his mother died in the little boy is 5 years old. His mother died in childbirth. His father is a hopeless alcoholic. He lives in a small mud hut out just on the outskirts of the village. And he raises guinea pigs. We use them here as small house pets. He raises guinea pigs and they are his pets. They are his warmth and they are his food. And he kills them and cooks them and eats them himself. He takes care of himself. He shows up at school because he sees other humans his size showing up at school, but the teacher doesn't see him walk in. Everybody in the whole village, which is strange for any village or any tribal culture anywhere in the world, to ignore a small child like that, especially a tight-knit, remote. They have no neighbors. How do you do that? It's also a village that is organized under, maybe it's Catholicism, but it's a Christian organized thing. Under the Christian faith, that's also, you wouldn't, under any monotheistic faith, I think probably under any faith period, you don't ignore a 5-year-old child in need. Nothing made sense. So the Romanian pastor, his name's Vali, he's now my co-founder at Motive. I said, we both agree, go find out why is this happening? And the problem was, and it took a long time to get it out, and they were very ashamed, but they said, we lose about 5% of our children every year to cold related diseases or conditions because they get cold through their feet. They don't have appropriate shoes. The Andes are a very rough region, so it wears out shoes. Their school is like 10 miles away and they walk it. So they wear out their shoes going to school. So much so, most kids don't make it through the school year because their feet can't survive the journey. Other than that, they would make it. So shoes are killing 5 kids in this small village every year. Shoes are stopping or inhibiting or slowing down education. It's just shoes. There's only 100 kids. That's not a difficult thing. So we finished our playground project and I had more time there in Peru. And so me and this pastor, I thought the organization I worked for will surely just take care of this. He thought the same for him, but it was really outside of the scope of what either of them did. They were willing to facilitate, but they said, yeah, it's different than what we do. So Valley and I decided, well, we looked at the cost. It was a low cost. Valley organized a group to get a pair of athletic hiking boots for every child, 7 pairs of socks, and 2 visits by a medical foot specialist per year to the children there to educate them on warming, on how it's important to your overall health and everything. And very inexpensive. And I raised the money here and set it up. And that went fine until the next year when it was the summer of 2020 in the pandemic. And every situation was very different because money was much shorter for people to donate. They were not as willing to donate. The nonprofits operating in Peru, many of them just shut down. Churches shut down, religious organizations shut down. And none of that resonated with me or Valley. We wouldn't understand why a nonprofit would shut down. We didn't understand why a church would shut down. Those are not just economic opportunistic businesses. So we looked at other ways to find funding, and I had been introduced to someone who would donate in Bitcoin, but they wanted to see if you could create circular microeconomies. And I know nothing about doing that. Valley knows nothing about doing that. And we went to the person and said, we don't know how to do this. And he gave us what we asked for. and extra, and said, just see what you can come up with. So we did, and we took care of the village. We got a shoe manufacturer to accept payment in Bitcoin. We had the medical specialist that accepted payment in Bitcoin. We had to learn about Bitcoin. We had to educate these people and talk them into accepting it.
Absolutely.
And then the socks as well. And so, but that's not circular. And then what we ran into, Valley was caring for many thousands of people, especially, well, really in Cusco, in Lima, in and around Lima, in many places, in Iquitos, and people are starving. The government has no way to track even how many people are there. There's no way to get them help because they don't know that they exist. The small markets that the poor people shop at, those shop owners are broke. They can't have anything on their shelves. They can't do anything. So we got the idea to basically go to the markets and say, how do we get you up and going again so that you can sell food to these people? And so we got the markets running and accepting Bitcoin, paying their people in Bitcoin, which typically was the owners themselves. Then the people, we would teach them about Bitcoin, how to download a Bitcoin wallet, and then we'd facilitate the transactions. We'd set up market days where they would go and they would buy basic nutritional needs for their family for a week using Bitcoin. And that was helping prevent starvation. At the time, Peru is the hardest hit nation in the world with COVID. Valley, just in the people that he was serving, he would have 2 to 4 new widows or widowers where their husband or wife would die every day. And he was getting 5 to 7 new orphans, children whose all their parents have died every week. So it was it was unbearable what he was having to figure out and how to place people. And what we realized was that we could start making this circular economy. So the places that the markets bought from, we went and talked to where they were buying from and said, look, we have markets that want to open, but you need to accept it in Bitcoin because there's no exchange there. There's no Bitcoin ATMs. And we were glad that there wasn't. We want to keep it in digital currency, keep it in Bitcoin. So they went and we started expanding that. And as the program started working, we got connected to Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador. And the people that run that, Jorge Valenzuela, Mike Peterson. And I went down there and saw what their operation was. And theirs is a small village. Theirs is a village of 3,000 people. And they are doing social and community projects. They're doing education. They're working with the businesses and teaching the businesses how to do things. That sparked a few ideas. But really the need where we were at was to create an economy that could support these people. It's just a very different need and a different level of need in a city of 11 million. Plus you have Cusco with these far-flung villages and Iquitos, an isolated jungle city. So we had to develop a more holistic program that served the people. But we saw many things that were the same. These people had never been banked. They have no access to a bank. They have to pay like 300% interest on their money that they store in the bank, which is crazy. We earn interest by having money in the bank. They have to pay to have it there. They had no concept of savings, of building toward future. And now banking on their phone, they're able to start intuitively learning that. And we started teaching classes in that. So we developed a series of programs that work together in a portfolio of programs. And there's really, by name on our website, it's listed as 12, but that's so it's easy to understand. Really, it's about 9 or 10 different programs. Some of the programs are very much aimed at forwarding that circular microeconomy. Other programs are aimed at delivering value to groups to be able to show our trustworthiness and that we are there to help them and really help them grow. Other programs are there to fill life-saving needs. But when you put them all together, what it really is about, what motive is really there for, we want to deliver independence to people. There are many ways in which you can be dependent and many ways in which you can be independent. Whenever you are dependent, you can be controlled by somebody else. You can be controlled by circumstances. You can be prevented from prosperity. You can be prevented from believing the way you want to believe or living your life the way you want to believe. We believe in freedom, liberty, independence. And this decentralized series of technologies coming out on blockchain, to include, Bitcoin is one of the tools that goes along with that is a decentralized, permissionless, you own it sort of thing. But so many things on the blockchain where you prevent centralized entities from controlling your life, controlling your communications. It provides so much freedom to these people that so very much want to excel and grow and prosper. And they really are prevented from doing that by the systems that society creates to maintain a system, kind of forgetting a large layer of it. So what we are here to do is to facilitate those people attaining independence. That's what Motive is about.
That's so lovely to hear. I mean, it's a long process it took you. I mean, a long background and everything. What a lovely story. I can really relate to how you had the thing for serving humanity since the very childhood. To even think of being in the military in the first place, right?
I think the question was, in wanting to serve humanity from early childhood and being in the military, I think the connection there was simply that, and I imagine it's different in different nations, but in America, and certainly where I grew up, we look at the American military as a liberator, not as a conqueror. And I would imagine that's viewed differently. And I know in different places I've been to, it's viewed differently. When it's, as I was growing up, we were the most powerful military in the world. So anyone else would look at us as a conqueror because they're not part of America. But the way we looked at it was, no, we will go and do right. Governments make decisions, not military. Politicians make decisions, not militaries. But at the soldier and service level of our military, we are here to serve the United States. But, I imagine a whole lot of what I really saw when I was a kid was much more simple than that. It was, okay, if they need somebody to fight to do the right thing, I'm not afraid to fight. I'll go, I'll fight. I think it was probably just as simple as that when I was a kid. And it's more exciting.